So this is Ryan with another video. Lately, I've just been blown away by the Bible. I've just been blown away by the Bible. Like, there's everything in this book. Like, there's everything in it in some way or form. In some way or form, there's everything in it. It's not going away. It's in your face, and it's. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. It's got everything in there, and this morning I woke up and I had a vision of. I was thinking like, man, I want to read people the Bible. Like, I want them to see what's in here. Like, remember that King Solomon? He had a whole bunch of wisdom, and the women brought the baby to him, and then he had to figure out who the mom was, and they said he was like really wise, and then what he did. Um, if you know what he did, then you would know how amazing Solomon is. But if you don't know what he did, you'll have to go and look up what he did. So um, there's a lot of things actually I've been thinking about lately that there's a lot of words and certain things that I have to Google while I'm reading. Not while I'm reading the Bible, but when certain things come up, it's like we have to go and we got to Google these words and find out what they are and really get into it, really get what it's saying. But anyways, this morning I had a vision that I was like, man, I want to read people the Bible, and then I had all these different ideas. I was like, man, you know what this world needs? It needs to learn more about the what's the Good Samaritan. The Good Samaritan. There's a story in the Bible. It's the Good Samaritan story, and I think that people don't know that. Like, because where are the Good Samaritans at? Like, back in the day when I was growing up, people were Good Samaritans. If someone was broken down on the side of the road, there'd be like 9 people to help that person out. Like, people enjoyed helping people out. And nowadays, because of cell phones and because of traffic and the busyness and everything, people are more likely to be like, oh, I don't want any problems. I don't want to get sued. I don't want anything to happen. I don't want to get hurt myself, like ran over in traffic myself. So I don't want to go help that person. Besides, they have a cell phone. They have friends. They have someone they could call. And so society just kind of goes on, and we just learn to like go around the person, and nobody gets out to help. Nobody gets out to help anymore. And then if you did get out to help, and you left your car there will be a police officer to make sure to tell you that you left your car and that he's going to write you a ticket. And you'd be like, oh, I just went over there to help that person. Well, back in the day, if you told the officer, I just went over to help that person, they were broke down, I pushed their car out of the way, the officer would say, good job and everything. Nowadays, they'll just write you a ticket and be like, you shouldn't do that. You're an idiot. Here's a ticket for you. Whatever. So there's just a difference between back in the day and nowadays, and city and country living people are more likely to be kinder and nicer and help each other out, I guess, compared to like city folk, which city people are more like aggressive and think about themselves, and they just want to run you over. So it's whatever you like, whatever you prefer. Like, but anyways, I was just thinking about that, and then a vision came to me, and it was about heaven and hell, and it was about, is there a heaven, right? And it's funny because people go like, there ain't no God in the sky, right? There ain't no God. You're God in the sky. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. It's like, we look up at the sky when somebody gets angry and they want to curse out God because all of a sudden they believe in God because they need to blame it on something. So what do? They don't believe in God, but when they get angry, all of a sudden they're blaming God. They're yelling at him, cussing at God. How did you do this to me? Right? And what do? They look up at the sky. Because why? Because even though God is everywhere and, like he's infinite being, he's everywhere. For some reason, there's this like looking up at the sky, like, God damn you, I hate you. Why'd you do this to me? Why me? Why me? I hate you, God, right? Um, and so it's kind of funny how people say God's not in the sky, but when they get really angry, they curse God and they look at the sky and they shake their fist. It's just weird. Like, why do people do that? They don't believe in God. They don't believe there's a heaven up there somewhere. They don't believe that God's out there somewhere. But then when they get angry, they're, why me? Right? Like, why me? Like, looking for an answer from something that's out there in the sky. So don't tell me that God don't live in the sky. He's out there somewhere. We don't know where heaven is. I wanted to find out, where's heaven? I've seen things in the sky that I think, the way I would say what I think it is that there's a veil, and there's a veil between heaven and earth. And because I used to think maybe heaven's like way out in outer space somewhere, or maybe it's just here but we don't see it. And today I had kind of a vision. I was like, man, I think it's like a veil. Like, heaven's here, like it's around here, but there's a veil between maybe dimensions or something. And the and the next thing that came to my mind is like the bride and the groom, and Jesus talks about the bride and the groom and stuff like that. I've always heard that. And but I thought of a bride and a groom. And so what happens with the bride and the groom? It's like the bride has the veil over her face, and the groom doesn't get to see what the bride looks like, okay? Because there's a veil that's blocking it. So he kind of gets a little bit of an idea of kind of what she looks like under there, because the veil's a little bit see-through. And I feel like that's like with us with heaven. It's like we have something that kind of lets us know that it could be possible that it's out there. There's a connection. There's information. There's something, that we could believe in, that there's possibly this heaven place, and that's the veil, right? Like, it's like, but we don't totally know. We get glimpses and we don't know, okay? But the thing is I was thinking is like, when the veil is lifted, like when you read Jesus' words, or when you have like an epiphany or something like that, like what happens is the veil gets lifted for a little bit and you could see heaven. Like I think that that's why you say like, well, heaven might be in the clouds, because I've seen things that seem like in the sky that it seemed like the veil was like revealed to me, like behind the curtain, like peeked out at me. And that's the way that I would kind of explain it. Like, heaven might not be something way out there out in the universe. It might be right here. It's just that there's a veil that's covered over us, or over. I'm not sure if it's covered over us or over them, but them on the other side. Anyways, then I was thinking about the bride and the groom and the veil, and when when the groom lifts up the veil and he gets to see his beautiful wife in all of her beauty. That's like us. When we lift the veil, we get to see heaven in all of its beauty. And not everybody can do that, but you can actually do that, because I've seen heaven. I've seen in real life, when I was awake, I've seen things that confirm to me that, I mean, I've seen out of this world stuff. Like, unless the government's making some sort of crazy new thing. Just like, okay, so anyways, so those were the visions that I had. And I was thinking, like, man, it's like you can't beat the Bible. You can't beat the Bible. Like, this thing is so old and written by so many kings, and um, it's it's deep. Like, it's deep, and it goes into a lot of things. Like, as soon as I visualize the bride and groom's in the Bible. You know, everything's in the Bible. Heaven, hell, like, everything's in there. Explains everything. And there's supernatural things. Like, just opening up a Bible is scary because it's like you're opening up supernatural stuff. Reading Jesus' words is scary because you're unlocking this world to a spiritual world, and that's scary. You know, it's scary because it could be really powerful and it could show you a lot of things, and um, and some things are hard to handle. Actually, I mean, people take the Bible lightly, and sometimes they have knowledge of it here. Sometimes certain things that they read, um, yeah, it gets crazy, right? It's like it might not even be. I mean, it's that's why we tend to try to get away from the Bible because it's like it's just like too much information, right? It's like too much. Like, I mean, I was reading Jesus' words, and he's like unlocking this world to me to where it was just too much. It's just too much. I seen things that if I told a person, it just wouldn't go over well. Okay, because they wouldn't be able to comprehend what I'm trying to tell them because they just don't see it. They don't see it. Okay, like they can't comprehend it. They don't see it. They haven't experienced it for themselves. And I'm not sure if it's everybody, but I'm pretty sure it's everybody. If they read Jesus's, the words are alive. The words are alive. They're not just like words. These words are alive. Like, they're living. Like, that's how crazy it gets. These words are living. They're alive. I was reading it and I was like, man, this these words are alive. That's scary. I mean, that's why people can't handle the Bible. It's the thing's alive. Read Jesus's words. Go read Jesus' words and watch your brain your spirit just like unlock. Like, he unlocks the next dimension. Like, it's too much for some people to handle. So that's the reason why I think people get away from the Bible, is because sometimes you read it and you're like, because even while I was reading it, I was like, this is kind of boring. Like something was like, this is kind of boring. I don't know, this and that. And then all of a sudden I'd be like, whoa, that was really deep. Like holy crap, that was like really deep. Like, then I'd be like, man, reading a little more, and I'd be like, what is up with this thing? And then another thing, whoa, that was really deep again. Like, man, that's really deep. And I'm like, okay, I got to get away from this thing for a while because this is just too much. Like, it's just too much. So, um, it's like The Matrix. It's like the movie The Matrix. People are obsessed with The Matrix. You know, they think that's mind blowing. You think The Matrix is mind blowing? Go watch The Matrix and smoke your blunt, and then go to the Bible and start reading what Jesus talked about. You'll freaking blow your mind. So, um, I think that's the reason why people get away from it, because it's just too scary. It's just too much for them to handle. Um, but there's a lot of power. Maybe maybe there's too much power. They can't handle the power either. So, anyways, this is a video for me. I'll see you on the next one. This is Ryan. I'm out.